Alright, going the extra mile, what in the world does that mean? I'm sure you're familiar with this principle. I did not invent the wheel in this case. I'm just going to illustrate the wheel with an example and say why it's important. But first let me make a confession. Another one, right? I'm not going the extra mile this weekend. There's a girl who's swimming an ice mile, a mile in ice water, and I haven't done the preparation, although that's on my bucket list. But anyway, back to business. So what I mean obviously is doing something extra, doing something cool, doing something unexpected, maybe even unpaid for. And I'm not talking about like pro bono work, that's actually good too. And I'm not talking about like not charging a high retainer or a high fee, that's good too. But even if you do, it's always nice to do something extra. Okay, so here's my example. This guy reaches out to me on Thursday or Friday, and he says I need an affidavit translated by Monday because it's urgent. My case is urgent. And honestly, this guy very much got on my nerves, but I was very relieved to find out that he got on the lawyer's nerves as well. So I was like, it's not just me. Anyway, so I say, okay, well, send it to me. He says, well, I'll send it to you tonight or tomorrow. And then he calls me tomorrow and he says, well, my ex-wife took the other half and I don't really have it. And I say, okay, what are we gonna do? And he says, I don't know. I guess I'll write it and I'll send it to you. And it's already like, pushing Monday. And I always have a very thorough quality control process. So I said, well, we kind of need it. I offered something to him, which I normally don't do. And I said, let's meet at a coffee shop. And of course it would be this one, Parcel, if we did. And I'll just listen to your story and I'll take it down. I'll just type. And I would probably be translating as I'm typing because I'm good at that. It's not even sight. It's not simultaneous. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like the opposite of sight, whatever. We have to invent a name. But he said, well, I prefer to, put my thoughts down on paper first. And I could definitely understand it. So I said, okay. And then he writes me or calls me like 5 or 6 times on Saturday morning. He said, when are we meeting? And I said, well, do you have it? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, then we don't even really need to meet. I did meet him. I met to grab the cash from him. But anyway, he sent me the story. And it was honestly like the most horrible Russian that I've ever read, because he's not a native speaker of Russian, which he's not to blame for. He was born in Russia, then grew up in Georgia, and probably Georgian is his native language, but the story was extremely difficult to follow. No punctuation, no capitalization, incorrect cases, incomplete sentences, and so forth. So I had to call him like 10 times. Maybe that's an exaggeration, maybe only 8, and ask him, what do you mean here? 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 So step 1, if I were to translate the story as it was, it would be completely incomprehensible, like basically gibberish. That's not what an immigration officer studying the case wants, right? Maybe I should look at myself because I see this beautiful scarf. Anyway, makes me look like the little prince. So step number 1, what we did for him is we improved his language. 2, we clarified his ideas because a lot of them were unclear. And then obviously when you clarify ideas, because you have to submit the affidavit too, they have to coincide, they have to harmonize. Up to a certain point I didn't know that. I thought only the English mattered, but no, they actually submit the original, so they have to match. So we put into his Russian original the clarified ideas from English. But then we went another mile, and I actually had my assistant edit his Russian original so he has a literate version of his Russian. None of this he paid for. I mean, he paid for the job. He did not pay for a rush because we agreed that it would be by Tuesday. Then his lawyer tells me, no, we need it by Monday morning. So I worked through the weekend, actually canceled a trip, and did it for him. I charged a slight extra fee because I thought there would be comments that they would incorporate, like I charged $50 extra, which is nothing for a rush fee. A rush fee would be like at least 150, 200%. So what we did for him for a regular fee was a rush job, clarified his unclear concepts, and edited the Russian. And then he calls me on Monday or he writes me complaining. Most clients don't do that. Most clients are really thankful, but the reason he was complaining was because the lawyer told him he can't use the format I sent because the format I sent had 3 comments for the lawyer. Usually I don't do that because it was so rushed. and I didn't have time to clarify something. I just left 3 very simple comments. And the lawyer apparently didn't have his computer, because otherwise it takes 3 seconds to remove 3 comments. So, and this guy maybe didn't fully replicate what the lawyer said, so he writes me and said, "The lawyer said you did it incorrectly. You sent me an incomplete job. Call me now." And I was like, no. I just stopped communicating to him, and I sent the lawyer what he needed, and I was like, "I'm glad we could help you. Ciao." But anyway, even in this case, it was a good idea to do the best for the client. Why? Honestly, mainly for me. Because I'm an egoist, as you all know by now. Half altruist, half egoist. And when you do something like that, it actually builds your self-confidence, it builds your esteem, it builds your professional haughtiness or confidence, and voila. And I think they're closing the coffee shop. The girl very nicely pulled out the vacuum, so I think I'll take it as a hint, but try it. Do more for your client and see how it makes you feel, because next time you feel even more of a professional and can charge higher rates and feel better about yourself and so forth. See you guys later.